Good morning once again and welcome back to the Afia Morning Show. Apologies for coming back late. Of course, we're trying to sort out some of our issues to bring you the best viewers experience. My name is Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan once again and it's saying good morning to you from the east side, the coast city of Enugu, Nigeria. I'm not alone. Oji, as always, is here. Oji even led the charge this morning. How charged up are you?
I'm
Oji?
charged up.
Battery full or battery low?
No, well, I wouldn't say that. I need to motivate, right?
Motivate what? I'm going to drill you today. What are you motivating?
Well, I have to motivate. I have to be upbeat for, our viewers to also get on their day, in that tempo.
Wear your glasses.
Oh, yeah. I know you're going to notice that. It's somewhere. I was trying to, I just completely to get here and all that. So
you left it at home?
Yeah. You won't understand, right? I need to wear that glasses though, because something might be twitching.
Okay, no problem. We'll bring the whole news bulletin for you today. And you will fight with the teleprompt. Okay, we're not alone. Of course, we have two special guests joining us. One of them is making a grand return to the Afia Morning Show. Political and economic correspondent, Afia TV. Of course, also general manager, Nnamdi Obaya. Nnamdi, good morning.
Good morning.
And CC Emechebe, Afia TV and radio producer, presenter of the sports show. Good morning to you, CC.
Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning, guys. Welcome.
You're really repping the Rangers League this morning.
If I don't, who will?
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are maybe 11 other players and substitutes, but that's all right. Let's leave it at that. Representing them on air, right?
True.
Fantastic. And Nnamdi, it's so good to have you back on the show.
When you say back, I'm confused.
I want to go by you. There you go, dude.
It's good to have you back.
Back.
Yes.
I don't know what to say.
Okay, let's take a look at headlines. We'll start with this day today. DSS brokers truce as oil workers call off nationwide strike. Edun Oyedele say no plan to implement 5% fuel surcharge in January. Natasha, citing pending appeal court case, NAS blocks senators' resumption despite suspension expiration. On the Punch, doctors to decide on nationwide strike. Today, NADSNEC meets to review government's response to demands. NAMED decries $1 billion yearly spending on medical tourism. 31 states' domestic debt hits 2.57 trillion naira. 2027 presidency, Jonathan splits South-South PDP. Nopeng suspends strike as Dangote accepts union's demands. Vehicle theft, 3 Nigerians jailed, 96 years in Ghana. South Africa dents Eagles World Cup hopes after stalemate. Osun Kingmakers reject move to the throne, jailed monarch. On the Daily Times, economy reforms wounds temporary, recovery permanent, according to VP Shetima. NCAA summons airlines over passengers' recurrent complaints. UK government announces £19 million funding for climate resilience, health development in Nigeria. Rep summon transport minister over train derailment. Of course, also here, biggest news in Nigeria today, Nopeng suspends strike, reaches agreement with Dangote refinery. On Daily Trust, the newspaper you can trust, how flood swept away 2 sisters, others in Zaria. Why suicide is becoming common. Ways to recover funds sent to wrong account. We won't implement fuel tax now, according to Oyedele. DSS resolves Nopeng Dangote group rifts, strike suspended. Female accountant found dead inside car in FCT. Condemnations as Israel military hits Hamas leaders in Doha. Nigeria's 2026 World Cup hopes uncertain after South Africa draw. On Nigerian Tribune, suspension, Senate Natasha in fresh drama. You can't resume now, NAS tells Kogi senator, cites pending appeal court case. PDP kicks Senate overreaching itself. This according to Ade Boruwa. We won't tolerate power supply crisis in tertiary hospitals, according to Tinubu. Dangote Nupeng reach agreement, strike called off. Northern elders urge governors to negotiate with bandits. And lastly here, no plan for immediate implementation of 5% fuel tax, according to Edun.
Okay, start from Daily Independent. FG rules out immediate enforcement of 5% fuel tax, says it's not new tax created by Tinubu administration. 2027 election, more governors will soon join APC, attributed to Tinubu addressing weaknesses others before he failed to handle, says Shetima. FG says Tinubu share policy aims to elevate Nigeria to global leadership. PDP condemns attempt to stop Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan from resuming. Asks her to prepare to resume. ACYLF to primates. Ayo daily respect line between prophecy, politics. CBN targets $1 billion diaspora reserves by 2026. New Peng suspends strike as Dangote settles for unionization. Hamas says leadership survived Israel's assassination bid in Doha. Moving over to Platform Times. Dialogue, not weakness. Elders defend talks with bandits. Says even powerful nations negotiated with insurgents. Blame some governors for hoarding intelligence reports. FG rules out immediate implementation of 5% fuel tax. Flood sweeps away mother child motorcyclist in Zaria. Ogun 2027 PDP blasts Abiodun over appointment of 236 APC youth leaders. Rising insecurity forces INEC workers to shut offices in Kwara. Police arrest Akwa Ibom village head for shooting sister over palm fruits. Minister Ogun, government partner to strengthen fight against sexual gender-based violence. Ebi in Power celebrates 10th scholarship awards, reaffirms commitment to education, community growth. Amosun's white flags of free cancer screening in Ogun warns of soaring mortality. Ebonyi man treks 600 kilometers from Lagos to Abakaliki to thank Governor Wifu, gets 10 million naira reward. Moving over to Salient Times. Dangote New Peng reach agreement suspend strike. No immediate plans to implement 5% fuel tax attributed to Edun. Tinubu's bold economic reforms aim to correct structural weaknesses attributed to Shetima. South Africa holds Nigeria to 1-1 draw as Super Eagles World Cup hopes wane. Southwest Fulani Council bans night grazing, firearms possession by headers. Nigeria records 149% surge in UK student visas despite tight immigration controls. Passenger renews call for single African currency, laments Nigeria's collapse. National Assembly bars Natasha Akpoti from resuming, says suspension still subject of litigation. Doctor performs 21 emergency C-sections in 10 hours. Lastly, blueprints. Insecurity. FG deploys special forces in KB. Northern leaders, or elders by the way, seek dialogue. 70% challenges can be resolved through non-kinetic approach, says presidential aide. Customs reforms key to unlocking Africa's economic potentials, attributed to Adeniyi. Dangote trucks. New Peng suspends strike. In sports, World Cup qualifier. Super Eagles draw Bafana face exit. Involved media, CSOs in public debt oversight, NUJ charges lawmakers. And this one says no immediate plans to implement 5% petroleum product surcharge. Attributed to Edun, says government eyeing higher inclusive economic growth. Senate, PDP condemns plans to stop Natasha's resumption. Campaign against NMPCL GCEO Ojulari about vested interest, says group Anambra pregnant woman, 3 others killed in traders Ocha brigade clash. Lastly, Tinubu's bold shared notes policy will make Nigeria global leader, attributed to Eves.
All right, thank you, Oji, for those headlines. We'll start with you, Namdi, and this has nothing to do with the fact that you are a general manager and that I could get a query in my mail if I decide to start with someone else. So let's begin here. The major story that cuts across all the dailies this morning, and that is that Nopeng has called off the strike after intervention from, of course, federal government, DSS, and the Minister of Labour and Employment. So we've seen that the agreement has been reached on unionization of the workers, let me not bite my tongue, and also to workers' rights, to safeguard these rights, and that's what unions stand for. They're there to protect the workers. Dangote has conceded, he has agreed, and now we're going to see some kind of, progress in the country away from the strike. What's your reaction to this whole dilemma?
First of all, I think that unions as a whole are just, let me call them opportunistic socialist thugs. They are not, I don't really have a positive view of unions. And the reason is very simple. If somebody has taken a risk to start a business, at no point do you come and start making demands. The socialist purpose is to share all the means of productions among the workers, not taking into account that somebody took a risk to start that business. But because you feel everybody working there is helping in making money, then you start making demands. Yes, people have rights, but that's what we have courts for. We have industrial courts, we have labor courts, we have high courts, we have magistrate courts. So I think the presence of unions might be, I don't know if it's still a very positive thing any longer. Because what are they striking for? You know, they closed down petrol stations, affected movement, affected people's livelihood. Even people put people's lives in danger because no means to move. Why? Because you want to force a company. Meanwhile, the act that establishes trade unions forbids you to compel non-members. You know, that's the part. I think Dangote has been very gentlemanly about this. But putting myself in a situation, I would have made this a very bloody standoff. You are not allowed to compel non-members to join. There's collective bargaining, there's shopping your positives about joining you. But to tell Dangote that if it does not allow that, the people must join. And if they do not join, you shut down all the petrol stations in the nation to bully one man's business. What is the issue? You're afraid of monopoly? All of you are oil marketers, oil transporters. You're all along the value chain of oil and gas. There are enough of you to bring out money and start your own company to rival Dangote. You have the funds, you even have the means of production. You have all the trailers, you have the market, you have everything. Why don't you come together and form a consortium and rival him? Rather than all of you trying to... This is just bullying and intimidation. I think NUPEG has overreached, and it's not a new thing. I remember when they used to park on the Lagos-Ibadan at an area called Magboro, where Mountain of Fire camp is. People were dying because cars were crashing into them, they were blocking roads, they were causing traffic, people were falling asleep, getting robbed in that traffic. There are tankers to catch fire and kill people on the road. They created a trailer park for them. The same thing happened at Orile. Don't park on the road, just park inside. When the government had enough and said, you know what, throw away these trucks, NUPEG went on strike again and shut down petrol stations because they wanted to do what they must do. Now, one of the conditions of the MOU they signed is that Dangote must not victimize anybody. You know, that thing struck out. And I said to myself, why would you bully Dangote that he must not victimize anybody? It means that some people have already started causing trouble within Dangote group. Now, those people who cause trouble with Dangote group, the union is now saying, oh, they must not be victimized. Dangote must not do anything about the people that, fine, there should be victimization. But I can bet you that since they're allowed to unionize on free will, bear that in mind, there's a caveat, meaning that you are free to unionize if you want. Yeah. It does not say that Dangote must keep union members. Yeah.
All right, let's go on this quick commercial. Nnamdi, when we come back, we'll delve more into this conversation and look at the actual points in the final communique that was achieved at the end of the meeting. Morning Show returns in seconds. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show, and thank you for staying tuned. Nnamdi was still going on with her assessment before we had to go on that quick break. So Nnamdi, I mean, you've raised a lot of valid points. Clearly, you don't believe that unions have the right to enforce that workers join them. Do you think that was truly it in this case?
No, so it's not how I feel. The act that establishes trade unions forbids them from compelling non-members to join. You cannot, because you have freedom of assembly is in the constitution. You have the right to freedom of assembly. So no union can say, because you work in my sector, you must join me. That's like if NUJ came here with police and said, oh yeah, everybody sign up. You know, so you can't force people. Now, Dangote as a company now, yes, they cannot stop their members from unionizing. But there's also the right to refuse people. The company reserves the right to refuse who they want to work for them. You know, what if tomorrow NUPEG comes out and starts protesting and says, you can't sack people who are stealing fuel from your refinery. And if you sack them, we'll go on strike. NUPEG has the habit of being on the wrong side of history and striking for the wrong things, which is why they have little or no sympathy for me right now. I don't know why we are always trying to attack businesses. Dangote is the one who took the risk, who is probably owing banks billions to get a refinery up. People are not aware that Dangote has actually exported now. Nigeria has exported processed petrol to the US. We've exported petrol, which is where we should be. Complete value chain in Nigeria. When the government should be thinking of protecting a country like this, people are thinking politically. Let us not lose Nupeng. If stations go on strike, people will not vote for us, which of course is what the trade union works on. I just think that they've actually made it worse, because what will happen now is you will start. The Dangote will know how to arrange himself and his businesses. Remember when Dangote had the issues that lorry drivers were taking Dangote lorries? This is what we used to see. They used to do it. They would park at major places on the highway, Lagos, Ibadan, towns on the highway. They had mechanics that would remove the brand new parts. They would sell it, put old parts, come back to the office, complain of a fault, get new parts from the office, go out and sell again. And Dangote people said, okay, no problem. We're not hiring drivers again. Come and be on contract. So the maintenance of the lorry will be up to you. So if you like, go and sell all your parts. You don't move, you don't make money.
Okay, let's look at the other side of it. Nupeng also had the argument that if Dangote went on with that his own stand on it, that up to 250,000 drivers would have lost their employment, because many of these people are actually part of the union. And if Dangote is saying as a condition you should not be part of the union, then what would the impact have been on those drivers who were already part of the union? But let's come to CC. I mean, you've been quite quiet. I know you have a different perspective. Do you feel sympathy for Nupeng and what it stands for, its cause?
In all honesty, I think basically, when you talk about Nupeng, what they've been doing, their cause to try to standardize things, because on the surface, that's what they're trying to do. But I have issues with them. I think I'm going to toe the line of Nnamdi, because really, Nupeng is no more than a political tool. This has been the case for quite a while. I've noticed that for a long time. And this is a big risk I'm taking, but I just have to say it, because at the end of the day, fighting for the wrong cause, season in, season out, when issues come up there, strikes are brought up. They launch a strike, and then eventually things are settled behind closed doors that favor them. But at the end of the day, you find out that the masses, because I like to stand for the masses who are at the wrong end of the stick when it comes to their policies, when it comes to the issue of releasing fuel consumption, and then of course services, where they are being promised services and they are not getting value for money. That's what I'm trying to explain right now. The masses are at the wrong end, they suffer it. But Nupeng, basically, they are trying to stifle every other person that's outside of their sector. Like Dangote is just one example, like he's raising there, is one example. What if somebody who doesn't have the kind of might that Dangote has, because I mean, Dangote is a man of considerable means and influence, but still he's being bullied because there is a culture of impunity that they're keen into. So I was sympathetic towards unions, particularly Nupeng, growing up, watching what they were doing over the years. But now I seem to have a different view, and I've been quiet, but he just echoed my sentiments, to be honest with you.
So he emboldened you to speak up?
Not emboldened me. I've always been bold about that.
How about you? Sorry, let's look at another perspective.
There's an elephant in the room we've not addressed, which is Nupeng's main reason for doing this.
We'll get into that.
Dangote bought 4,000 trucks and wants to get more.
CNG trucks.
Yes, and Nupeng is worried about someone who has the ability to continue supplying petrol, even if they are doing whatever they want to do.
Exactly.
There is now a countermeasure to them shutting down fuel supply in Nigeria. Imagine you have a Dangote with thousands of trucks, and Nupeng says, we're going on strike because they told us we can't park on the road and kill people via accidents.
So what you're saying is that there is the reason is not even the unionization.
It is unionization.
But it's something else.
They need to make sure that their union drivers are there so that they too can stifle Dangote and prevent him from being a countermeasure when they want to go on one of their needless strikes.
Which should be actually very viable in a country like Nigeria at this point in time? Progression or retrogression? Because what you're stating right now is Dangote can actually buy all these trucks, right? CNG trucks, and whenever Nupeng is doing what they do, Dangote is still running his business, a capitalist.
Yes. You know what that means is that supply is not affected, and there's constant demand. And when Nupeng shuts down, You know, there's now scarcity of fuel. Once there's scarcity, we start seeing black markets because there's still high demand. And of course, in economics, when supply goes down and demand is constant or increase, you're going to have an increase in price. You know, fuel has a very elastic price limit. You can keep stretching, and the utility on petrol, because it's a source of energy, the utility is very, very high. People keep paying. But when you have a Dangote who can maintain consistent supply, even when Nupeng does what they do, then that weapon they've always had to cause problem in Nigeria. Because if you think of it, Nupeng, Nigerian Medical Association, there are very few unions that can go on strike and really shut Nigeria down. And so this thing they're worried about, that Dangote will now become a countermeasure for them. And, you know, like you rightly said, they lose that even political viability, because they are if you have that kind of power, of course anybody in government is going to want you on their side. I mean, look at how in the US,
that's what's happening.
In the US, you see the Teamsters, the truckers, they flipped from them. They were allowed to speak at the RNC, they were not allowed to speak on the DNC, and that flipped sentiment. Majority of the truckers moved openly the way of Trump. So we know the power of unions, but you see the difference between being a political pressure group for the betterment of the people and selfish interests at the cost of Nigerians. Like he said, they're not doing it for the good. It's like our selfish interest. And that's what I think the real issue is. Those 4,000 trucks, why did they not worry about unionization before? Those trucks scared the Dangote out of them.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we can now safely say that things have returned to somehow. You know, it was quite shocking yesterday when we saw prices of fuel skyrocket from 900 naira, which is the new.
Would you even get it? How the few stations we have?
When they reopened now, at least when they reopened, some of them that reopened.
We were saying enough to even sell for 890.
Yes, 890. Yes, and we saw that in the Boeing state as well. So we had 900 naira, which was the new normal, skyrocketing to 1,006, 2,000 naira in Nsukka already. Like, I mean, when does I know? But it's. I mean, how is that normal?
Look at where Nsukka is. Nsukka is on the crux between the north and the south.
Yeah.
A lot of vehicles moving through there. A lot of agricultural products move through there as well. It's a transport hub. If Nupeng calls off a strike, the people know that they are going to increase their risk by selling fuel, of incurring the wrath of Nupeng. So they keep selling, but they know that because supply has been shut down and there are few of them there, and there is demand, because even people from other areas, you know, if it had continued now and transporters in, Igbo ATT, Enugu Ezike, Nsukka is selling fuel, everybody descends there. So it's highest bidder, and they quickly make their money.
All right, so we saw what happened in Enugu yesterday, the CNG buses. People started trooping reportedly to board the CNG buses because fuel stations were shut. CC, how come you didn't get on a CNG bus?
No, well, I didn't have to. You know, I like yesterday we
had a discussion around it,
and it was better to be safe than to be sorry. I'm mobile. I have my vehicle there. I had minimal amount of fuel there, but I had to listen to the feelers from outside before I get stranded in the middle. But thank goodness, eventually it was cut off. I didn't consider the CNGs. It's only if I have no option. Then I got fuel, 910 a liter last night. At least I got that. That's the most important thing. But CNG bus is beautiful. I will patronize them when I have to. I have no option, but I had an option. So I guess that was it.
Okay, since I was just talking about fuel, this day, right? Edun or Edele say no plan to implement 5% fuel surcharge in January. Namdi, my question is was this a tease to get the reaction of the people, or they are reverting because of the revolt?
Bingo. You see, when somebody started, if you look at it, one of my favorite proverbs, the wicked runneth when no one chases. When you start answering questions, nobody asks you. They always say too much explanation is the beginning of problem. Nobody has asked you anything, and you're coming and telling us, oh, you brought this for tax. People went through your bills and read them, you know. And when the story is changing, there's a problem. The first problem is this. You look at the fact that first of all, you said, oh, we didn't create the law. The law has always been there in the previous petroleum industry. They'll tell you all that. Yeah, we're just implementing what was there before. Now, oh, we're not doing it again. Oh, we're not doing it yet. You know, the goalposts are shifting, and, you know, one day we'll be told, one day you start seeing influencers on social media. During the US, their own fuel tax is 10%. Nigerians don't know they are living good. All those selfish, reckless, insane, self-centered, narcissistic idiots who stay abroad after running away from the problems in Nigeria, but from those places pick up the mobile phones with available light and internet and freedom of speech and expression to tell us here in this basically refuse dump that things are better here. You know, it's ridiculous, and you will start having that situation where you will see them. Just wait, give them time. When it's time to implement this, when you start getting towards December and it's time for the fuel tax, you start hearing that Ghana has a fuel tax, South Africa has a fuel tax, and you start hearing how their development has spurred and how we are depriving the APC of funding to develop Nigeria. Just wait and see. But
just that's what he said. Basically, I think one of the problems with having a bird's eye view is that the bird is away from the aggression on the ground. And just like he said now, you know, people who are outside there, because this is all about feeling the pulse of the people, finding out, okay, how close can we get to the edge of hell without falling into it? To what degree can we get to without incurring the wrath of the people? Let's know how resilient these people are or how docile they are, and then tease something. It's basically teasing. That's what they've been doing. And they've seen the reaction, they've seen the inaction of the people, and they're just trying to play with the minds and the intelligence of everybody there. But one thing is certain, you know, like he talked about elasticity. I'm a firm believer of the fact, and really this is the truth, I'm a firm believer of the fact that if you keep pushing someone to the wall, one day the person bounces off that wall and something catastrophic may happen. So I think they know, well, not even will happen. I mean, it's inevitable. Yes. But eventually, I think the government, they are smarter by half. And that's the problem. They feel that Nigerians take everything hook, line, and sinker and sit back. They don't know that they are poking the bear. So really, I think some of them are smart enough to know that they can only try to go as fast as they can to awaken the wrath of the Nigerians. But this 5% fuel tax that we're talking about, we talked about it on the show some time ago. And you're taxing, I said something then. There's a puppet and there's a puppet master.
Yeah.
I feel that it's playing out because there is no rational justification for putting a 5% fuel tax when things are not going the way they should. We're not having a buffer. There's no proper, no soft landing for Nigerians in terms of the economy, in terms of consumption, in terms of services rendered, in terms of what I ordered versus what I got and everything. So basically, I think it's just the government. When I say the government, I'm talking about the entity called the government, teasing to see how Nigerians will react. And it's been the game. It's been playing on for years, and so we're used to it.
All right, quite interesting. Let's move away from there to matters emerging at the Senate. We're seeing that the Senate is apparently blocking Senator Natasha's move to resume plenary, citing sub judice, a case at the Court of Appeal that is yet to be decided upon. We're seeing that there seems to be no end to the travels of Natasha, and the Senate continues to stress, the law, and that's what it stands on. Nnamdi, what's your take?
I think it's so sad that the people that are violating the laws are our lawmakers, and the fact that we have a sterile, incompetent, inept judiciary that is a mockery of the entire judicial community in the whole world makes it even worse. So you have people who at any time can wake up with, like you said, total impunity. Our lawmakers do something that nobody gives them the right to do. How, if you can censor, you can, punish somebody, but you have no right. I remember then they said she should not declare herself as senator. You have no right to take away a mandate you did not give. You are the legislature, and the mandate was given by the people via an election conducted by the executive. So what right does the legislature have to take away that mandate? Do you know that right now, with these actions they are taking, they are depriving a whole constituency in Nigeria of representation in the House of Assembly, in the upper house. So there are people in Nigeria right now that are not represented in a representative democracy. That is constitutionally atrocious. And everybody's sitting down looking. And the judiciary is sitting down somewhere. This is why Nigerians believe that the judiciary is compromised. I'm not saying the judiciary is compromised, but I'm saying that if a betting platform opened and said, is the judiciary compromised? I know what I will sell all my father's land to bet on, and it won't be no.
Okay, let's move away from emotions now to what the Senate is saying. Let's read the tenets of that That's a release from the clerk to the National Assembly. He said that your suspension was with effect from Thursday, 6th March 2025, and they want to draw her attention to the fact that the subject matter of suspension is presently before the Court of Appeal. The matter therefore remains sub judice, and until the judicial process is concluded and the Senate formally reviews the suspension in the light of the court pronouncement, no administrative action can be taken by this office to facilitate your resumption. So essentially, they're saying that that the claim that date of expiration has reached, it's not working for the Senate.
You suspended somebody for a period of time. The person challenged your suspension. You are saying the case is before the courts. But now, here is where I think even the clerk should be clacked on the head, because the expiration date has reached. What I'm appealing is a suspension. But now the suspension has finished. So just come back. The appeal is only useful if it came before the end, and you can say, oh, your time to come hasn't reached. Okay, but the full suspension has finished. I say, even though it has finished, because you appealed it, we are now extending your suspension. You see, this is what I'm saying, is illegality. And all this framework and things, that they are trying to be legalistic in an illegal format. It's like somebody breaking into your house. Then because when they came into your house, after stealing your TV, they cooked good soup. You see, but we cooked good soup, which is nice. You cannot have a legalistic activity within an illegal framework. So everything they are saying makes no sense at all. He's a naked man on the road that remembers to comb his hair. It's a madman on the road because he remembers to comb his hair. You say he's decent. That is what the Senate is doing right now.
Sisi, are we sensing or perceiving intimidation?
Well, if it's not intimidation, I wonder what it is. I wonder what it is actually, because at the end of the day, you check this thing very well. Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has been at the wrong end of a witch hunt for quite a while right now, and it's very, very clear. Just like he pointed out there, she was suspended. She appealed the suspension, so the sub judice issue was brought in there. Now the suspension is over, and then they are trying to, let me put it this way, the good book says, the Sabbath was not made, man was not made for the Sabbath, but Sabbath was made for the man. In other words, let me rephrase that. Processes and systems were designed to aid people and not the other way around. So she was suspended for what was alleged misconduct in the Senate. But now they're weaponizing that suspension, since it's still the court issue, even though the suspension is over. That's, again, being smarter by half. Because the essence right now, the whole target from no ab initio was Natasha. She's the one, okay, you feel that you're bold enough to speak out and then to call out your employers and then maybe ruffle the feathers. We want to show you what we're capable of doing. And that's where impunity, full-blown impunity is shown, that is now being empowered by a lax judiciary. Let's put it that way.
Speaking of employers, who is the employer of the Senate?
The people.
The people. So the people employ the senator. Different people employ the senator to represent them. And then another group's senator that was employed by the people came and said that your own senator, they are suspending your senator that you employed. I don't know if that makes sense. You have a boss that employs staff. You have a boss that employs staff. Then one day a group of staff come together and suspend one of the staff members that they did not employ. You see, and they're not, they might say they are being legalistic, but there's something, we're all human beings, we're all rational human beings, and we can look at steps and processes. At the beginning, whatever your views on Natasha, please remember, she has been on the end of what I call a criminal attempt. Let me not say criminal, it's a bit harsh, but a fraudulent attempt at a recall, where a group of people claim to be her, have gotten enough signatories, and we couldn't get the people who signed the so-called petition. And when Natasha came home, majority of the people came out to welcome her, and we couldn't find our recall people. We've had all sorts of things over and over and over. It's almost as if there is there's an attempt to make an example of her to prevent people from falling out of line. Because it always takes one spark. One person stands up, and I'll say this again, for all the people like the platform of LP, PDP, all of them who have kept quiet and watched this happen to her, shame on all of you. all of you are waiting for the prayers in your inbox at the weekend to get the alerts.
Yeah.
You know, waiting for that. So you don't want to ruffle the feathers that will give you the money you will spend in the week at the weekend at maybe Jabi Lake or any of the places in Abuja when you've imported your consignments.
Let me comment there.
Why are you so poetic and so metaphorical this morning?
I'm just this is Aligo, and proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten.
True.
We must follow culture when we're explaining things.
And
libation.
Attend to Ikenga. Let's go.
Go where? Now Senator Godswill Akpabio may just be somewhere like Natasha will never come back.
Which is
so why? Why do you think he doesn't want what is the Senate running away from?
Now, when you're answering that, there is a call now for Natasha to unleash all those evidence that this is a time.
Exactly.
So whoever is calling for her to do that does not like her. The reason is this: the moment you release it, all their lawyers have to do before the court is say that she has compromised the case by leaking evidence into the court of public opinion. You should not do that in the middle of your case. But as funny as it sounds that you're saying, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it's most likely what it is. That, like I said, a group of senators, a cabal somewhere. Nigeria, people think Nigeria is made up of 36 states. No, it's made up of 100 of cabals. And the cabals are the different, that's what we have in the country. And there are some people who have said, this one wants to get out of line, and we need to put her in her place. Because remember, this whole thing started from sitting arrangements. And look, I think we Nigerians, we are very docile and we accept rubbish. That's why Nupeng and everybody can ride on us. This is a country where the most important votes, you hear here, the eyes say aye, the eyes have it. You hear more news, so let's say the eyes have it. There is no serious country with serious representation that does not do electronic voting in the House, where every senator's name, we should be able to know who voted for, who voted against, so that you will know that your senator that comes here and tells you, Abuja is not doing well. When you now find out that he's voting against your interest there, because he has been getting prayers and maybe even pamphlets inside his email box, you will now know if you are really getting representation there. So, look, this is just somebody who is bringing too much attention to the activity, or rather inactivity, at the National Assembly, and they need to make an example of her.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining the review this morning. I mean, it keeps getting longer and longer because the headlines keep getting more interesting. Oji, are there any other headlines you'd like to look at?
That's not.
What was it?
Because you're already ending the segment. You want me to ask another question?
I heard one on the suicide.
That's where Nigeria.
Well, already done. All right. Maybe that was a trick question, just a curveball. Thank you once again for joining the segment of the program. If this was the whole program, then we'll just go and get breakfast. Too much. All right, we're going on a quick break now. When the morning show returns, we'll delve into around the region, take a look at interesting conversations. Today, we'll be looking at how the fuel scarcity impacted Southeasterners yesterday before the resolution was finally reached. I mean, following these guys is exhausting. You sleep with one story, wake up with another, and that's how the story goes. The morning show returns in seconds. Stay tuned.